Hey runners, how's it going? Welcome to Let's Do a Song About. Let's write a song. The podcast is Let's Do a Podcast About. This one's Let's Write a Song. Well, I'd like you to be a part of it, don't I? Anyway, as we're looking at this next one, it may have been a little bit since you got done listening to It Comes and Goes, which finally came after close to 30 days. And it took 2 sessions for that one. The first recording session, I ended up with something after a bunch of takes, but didn't really come out where I thought it was best foot forward for foundation track. So I went back in and did it quick. That's always an interesting thing because you go through this whole bit of writing the song, and then you go to record, you have in mind exactly what you want to do. Your lyrics are written, you've got your chords. It's a proud moment, and suddenly you just keep messing it up. And every time you go, I can do better. Let me go back at it. Now, you hear a lot of people in the recording process, they go, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break. I'm a lot more of the sort where I'm just like, just do it again. Keep it rolling. We just do it again. And if I ever find myself going back in to redo the session, usually I'm a little annoyed, right? Because I thought I came away with one I could use. But when I went back and I finally listened to it, because I couldn't take any more of it in the session, I go, I can do better. And when I go in there, I got that little bit of, I'm going to show you kind of thing going. And I try to work hard to make that one worth it. And fortunately, it usually works if I get to that point. So since then, if you've subscribed to my Substack, you'll see I wrote a whole thing about what happens in between songs. For me, you start with nothing and you went back from that satisfaction of, hey, I finished that one. Isn't that fantastic? To, I've got nothing. What now? And you start playing around. You got nothing. And for me, I usually go and I play somebody else's songs for a while, just doing some covers. One of the ones I come back to a lot is from the Black Keys, Dan Auerbach. He had a solo album we wrote, Waiting on a Song. And when things are really tough, I go and play that one, which is a fun one. This time out, your inspiration comes from anywhere. Now, you'll notice this session is untitled, and that's really because we have no title yet. I have no lyrics, and true to form, I don't know what this one's about at all. What I did do is I also wrote a Substack thing recently about how I think when it comes to AI, people are in the music industry, entertainment industry, they're upset. But most of what they're upset about is the idea of control over intellectual property. So that idea of owning your own work and making sure that your own likeness and your creative output is controlled by you, the creator, rather than repackaged into AI for other people to be able to make what they will of it. I don't know. We've had remixes for a while. We've had samples, right? That was a big thing for a while. Before samples, everybody thought, well, samples are just ripping things off. But when you transformed it into something new, you found that it actually became something new and it was okay. And that way, I think the AI argument about controlling intellectual property makes total sense. But when you can transform it into something new, maybe it does become some form of art. What I find is I like to use it as a bit of an editor on some of the things I'm writing. I go back and forth. It can help me come up with some ideas. I brainstorm. I go back and forth. And this time out, I did something interesting. I said, okay, well, I'm going to give it all of the tabs for all the songs that I've written, or most of them anyway. I want you to read all these different songs, the chords I've strung together, and tell me your impressions of it. And at first, because AI loves to blow a little bit of smoke up your ass and make you feel good, it was like, oh, not only are you fantastic, but hey, you often do this. And I started looking at it and I go, and then they started saying it like in these songs. So I started looking at it and I go, you know what? Not only haven't I done that, but that's not a song I've ever written. What the hell? So I would go and correct it and I would go, oh, I'm terribly sorry. I got confused. But, certainly when you did this song, that's not my song either. What are you looking at? Because, oh, you're right. You gave me a lot of files. I just inferred, I didn't actually read them all. Do you want me to read them all? Duh, yeah. Yes, I do. All right, I guess I can do it, but it's going to take a long time. Jesus, you're AI. Like, you got to care about the effort to this thing. I could take like some kind of a music student I expect, and they might be a little bit more enthusiastic. But it finally goes ahead and reads them and says, once again, you're terrific. Look at all these chords you use, and you do these things. Now, how much of that was actually from reading the file and how much of it wasn't? I don't really know. And that's part of the problem with AI is this idea of transparency. How did it come up with the conclusion? Did it really do the work that you said it was going to do when it generated it? And gosh, it's an evolving field, but approaching it like a tool is no different than musicians starting with a synthesizer and replacing an orchestra, right? We look at the Moog and what the Beatles did with some of that. And, if you look at Strawberry Fields, those aren't violins. It's a mellotron. So anyway, this stuff evolves. When you use it as a tool, it can be okay. You just have to double check the thing, right? Because it's not going to be perfect. You have to control it as the artist. I think it comes back to the control thing. So I was like, hey, if I do all those chords, what chord should I use? And it was like, well, you might try things like this. I forget what it was called, but it's like, look, I'll go take this here. I go that there. I go, well, okay. And you might try C6 or C7 or C major, G major 7, some of those things, right? And effectively it comes down to the idea that wherever you put your fingers, it actually is a chord somewhere. So for me, because I'm composing on a uke, I use Uke Buddy. I know you're not supposed to promote shit, but ukebuddy.com is where I go when I put my fingers in random places. And I go, what's that? Because I got to write it down. So I go and I find what the chord is, and I write down that's what it is, so I can find it later. And then I write the tablature. I just go, in this case, I go G0, that's my G string, C4, that's my C string, E5, E string, and A0. Now, that's not the prettiest chord ever, but you get the idea. So as it was telling me different things, I tried looking at it, and it goes, well, this thing, I don't know, maybe C add 9, maybe, I forget, but it's effectively just the C major or C major 7 or something with one less finger on it. Yeah, that's a lot of it, right? If you take a D chord and you bar it, D6. All you've done is add one more note. Listen, I don't know much about music theory. I play by ear. But going like that was interesting. And when they said, try this other thing, I forget what this chord's called. But in any event, you notice it's just a C chord once again with this thing over here. So I was going through all these different chords it was suggesting. And as I was playing in my notes, I go, I'm like, hey, there's a drone C. And I love a good drone. Who doesn't? Well, the Ukraine doesn't, but in any sense. Ooh. And I ended up with a little bit of a riff. Okay. Chord. Back to C. Oh, that open resolve on the C is okay after you got done playing with these weird ones. So that's what I had. I need something else, so let's try G. Oh, sorry. There you go. What did I do first? Well, you call that a G sharp. It's probably called something else too. That's the other thing. Chords often have more than one name. One man's flat is another sharp. That's all the theory I really know. All right, so we got... Sorry. Now you might wonder why does he keep doing that G sharp mistake? Well, we're live streaming, so since we're writing, we're going to get some mistakes. But I'll tell you why I'm doing that. And it's not just because I made a mistake. Rather, it's because as you've been hearing everything I've been playing, it sounds, I don't know, kind of ordinary. And maybe it even sounds a little bit like some recent things I've been doing. And why? Well, because I'm playing a standard tuning, right? The G to F, C. They're all major chords, nothing really significant there. Lots of hit songs that use those, but it feels a little bit boring. And that's the thing, when you're trying to write songs, you got to come up with some inspiration. So sometimes I play, hanging on a wall here, you can't see it, open G tuned ukulele. Sometimes I electrify everything, throw on different distortion, sounds like that to try to inspire things. Sometimes, like we did on the last song, It Comes and Goes, I binge watch a bunch of documentaries about aliens. You got to do what you got to do to be able to find inspiration to make a song. But when it comes to music, well, watching shows doesn't usually give you inspiration, and playing other people's songs might. You just got to make sure you don't borrow too heavily from any of them. Anyway, you sometimes have to find a different sound. So this is a capo. And there's other ones with springs and it all looks, but I like this one. It's kind of fancy. Anyway, if we put it here on the first fret and we clip it on, boom. Now everything's tuned up half a step. There's one bit more theory I actually know, right? 1 fret, half a step, 2 frets, 1 step. What does that mean? Well, this is the sharp or the flat. And then the next one is the regular whole note. So if we go from open C, which I think is what a ukulele is tuned to this next one here, barring the D, we know we go to a D6. So we went from C to D. 1 full step. When we go here on the half step, it's half. So we're essentially playing in C sharp now. Whoa. It doesn't mean that the key of this song is C sharp, or maybe it does. That's the stuff I don't know. But hey, half a step makes things sound a little bit different. And sometimes when I'm composing, if not recording, I'll do that to make things sound a little bit different. So let's play what we had before. There's our C sharp now. I did do that with the other ones. I don't know. I'm not going to do a G sharp. It sounds like shit. So, okay. Okay, so you saw I did that C7 break, which is kind of fun. I don't know what I'm doing that for. It might be something that leads to the bridge, it might be something in the middle. It's kind of weird to put it in the middle of a verse. I feel like the whole thing is a verse so far. Which brings you to the thing that every song really needs, the chorus. Listen, there's plenty of songs that have no chorus. They're just not very successful usually. I'm sure there's exceptions. And somebody might drop into the comment, well, you forgot about this one, and I probably did, if I've even heard of it. But yeah, there are songs that have no choruses, and every so often an artist decides, look at me, I'm going to make a hit song with no chorus. Well, maybe one day I'll have that pleasure, but right now I write with choruses, damn it. So we're going to try to figure out where the hell this thing goes after we resolve to the C, right? We've got this working thing. So what's a good chorus? I don't know. We might go E minor. That's sort of a cheat, right? When I do that E minor, this one finger is all that's making it an E minor. The rest of it is the parts of a G. So if I just take that one finger off, it's something else, some kind of G. But making an E minor to F, I like that we bring in a minor chord, but it's the same thing really as playing the G sort of. It's just a little bit more minor. All right, still no chorus yet, but you get the idea. And I think maybe we're doing this one with the capo. We'll see when we're done. Anyway, thanks for joining, and we'll have an update again sometime soon. Maybe we will find a chorus, and then eventually we'll start looking for lyrics. Have a good weekend.